Sway.
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 In the morning.
In the morning.
In the morning.
Shake goes by.
Wake your punk ass up. That crust out, y'all.
You can do whatever you set your mind to, but you must set your mind. Jesus set his face. It was simply an expression to say he set his mind for what's ahead.
That voice right there is listened to by many, Heather B.
Okay.
Hundreds of thousands of radio listeners, millions of viewers. They all congregate to his voice.
Nice.
Because when he speaks, things happen. Transparency happens. Upliftment happens. He's the president of the Council of Churches of the City of New York. He's counseled some of our favorite entertainers, everyone from Pauletta Washington and Denzel, our good friends, our good friend Angela Bassett and Courtney B. Vance. He's worked with Alonzo Mourning, who's always been a pillar in the community, has done a lot in the community. I believe it's 37,000 plus membership of his church. New York Magazine held him as one of the most influential people in religion. Ladies and gentlemen, Pastor A.R. Bernard.
Woo!
Wow.
Welcome.
The anointed one.
I need to record that and take it with me.
Yes.
Man, listen, you could take me with you. You ain't got to record it, Pastor. I'll go with you, Pastor Bernard. That'd be my sole job right now. I could leave this stuff, man. Just give me the word. I'll leave it. No, okay.
That laugh.
Say, Sway, keep your day job, man. That's not going to happen. It's an honor to have you on this show. I've watched your sermons, and I've watched you on YouTube. You know, and I've watched a lot of your interviews. And when they told us we had the opportunity to have you to talk about this book, 4 Things Women Want from a Man, I thought it would be an extremely interesting and hot topic for us to discuss. And so welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Good to be with everyone.
I'm Sway Calloway. Everybody introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Tracy.
Okay, Tracy.
Pleasure to make your acquaintance.
I'm Heather.
Heather.
Okay, and that's DB.
I'm DB.
DJ
All right.
Wonder over here. What compelled you to write this book?
38 years of counseling, 44 years of marriage, and the realization that society's shifting very quickly. 85% of relationships are doomed to fail. 40 to 50% of first marriages end in divorce. And second marriages, the rate goes up to 60%. That's a scary thing, that people are struggling with relationships. And another phenomenon we're experiencing is women have experienced unprecedented wealth and education, especially women of color. And 60% of the college enrollment today is female. Only 40% is male. So there's an emerging female power class that men are not prepared to deal with.
You know, it's interesting because you've had a lot of people that you've had to counsel, but you're not just preaching this, you've experienced this. Like even in your own marriage at one point, you almost suffered from a divorce back in the 80s. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. That book is my journey to become as close to that man with those 4 things as possible. You know, I was immature in many ways, inconsistent, and lacked the strength to follow through on some of my own convictions in life. And it created a problem. I committed transposition, and I put things before my wife and my family that I should never done. You know, so there's definitely a past there that I learned from and that we work through. You know, often we think that marriage begins with the honeymoon, but it doesn't. It begins with the first crisis, the first conflict. And you decide to work through that. Now you've really engaged in this thing called marriage.
That's so you from that point is where you learned how to prioritize your life when you almost lost your wife, and you guys ended up you lost 2 kids, right?
Well, what happened was the stress of it in 1984 was so great, and you know, men can be very clueless. I didn't realize the impact that it was having. And I felt that she just, couldn't handle my work and what I was involved with. But it had nothing to do with that. It had to do with me devaluing her in the relationship. And women are very conscious of the value that they hold in the eyes of the man that they love. So by putting everything else before her, I devalued her. And it so stressed her that she miscarried. A set of twins that we had, yeah. And it took me a year before I could even have a conversation with her. And, life goes on. So you're still doing ministry, still doing all of those things, carrying out your responsibilities. But inside, that there are these issues that you have to face. So we finally sat down, had a great conversation about it. And it took time for her to go through a healing process and for me to walk through with her in that process. Because women are about collaboration. Yeah. They need to talk, to discuss, to share in order to work through whatever it is that they're going through. So I learned a lot. The number one complaint that women have about men is that men don't listen. And if anything I've learned to listen.
You learned to listen, man. And hey, listen, you spoke with a lot of women to arrive to this conclusion. And this book is for men and women. And one of the things that interested me is, we've been going through this in hip hop culture. We've been going through this transformative period, if you will. It's just going through a metamorphosis of sense. And I was thinking about the institution of marriage and marriage culture. And there's a chapter in this book where you took from this 1970 bestseller, Future Shock, written by Alvin Toffler, who said, when any culture begins to redefine itself, people feel adrift. Is that what's happening with the institution of marriage? Because a lot of people ain't really, come on, Pastor, a lot of folks ain't trying to get married, man. They got the cow at home.
Right.
Interestingly enough, the divorce rate has gone down.
Okay.
But not because fewer people are getting divorced. It's because fewer people are getting married.
Okay.
So the motivation for marriage has changed. In the early period of history, American history, women got married primarily for shelter, protection, provision. And if there was any love involved, it was a bonus. And, of course, the man got married because it was the accepted way to live with a woman and build a family. That continued about the 1850s when the Industrial Revolution came in. And when that happened, there was a shift because manufacturing, jobs came into play, and women moved from the home into the workplace. Women then gained the right to vote. So women's rights took a very, very strong movement in American culture. So we went from the traditional marriage to what is called the compassionate marriage. And that's where women were looking to get married for things like love, sexual fulfillment, companionship, all of these compassionate, emotional things, which were wholesome, were very good. But then the 1960s came, and in the 60s, that decade, I'm a product of the 60s, was a decade of revolutions, military revolution, political, social, spiritual, music revolutions that took place, and racial and cultural revolutions that took place. And what happened was we moved from the compassionate institution of marriage to what is called self-actualization or self-discovery. So now people were getting married to try to find themselves in another person who happens to be looking for themselves also. So when you have two people lost trying to find themselves in each other, you have a crisis. And that's why the relationships don't work.
Two things when you talked about where society was at that time. Did you join the Nation of Islam, or were you just?
Yeah, no. I was with the Nation from 1970 and 1975 when Elijah Muhammad passed. That year, I met the former gang leader of the Mau Mau's, and he shared his Christian story with me. And I was intrigued. I was always intrigued, not with the institution of Christianity, but the person of Christ.
Yeah.
And I studied, philosophy and writers like J. Krishnamurti, Seth, Khalil Gibran, Alan Watts was a philosopher. So I was always trying to find, and I always had this intuitive belief that God, truth, and reality were synonymous. So if I found one, I found the others. What I found in the Nation was not God, but a protest movement that was initiated to protest the failure of white America and the white Christian churches' response or lack of response to the socioeconomic plight of blacks in this country. So the Nation has to be understood more as a social protest movement than a religion, because it's a mixture of Christianity, Islam, a little numerology, and some other things. But it provided for me, growing up as a young man without a father, single-parent home, mother struggling, all right, it provided for me a sense of strength, order, and discipline, which I needed.
Yeah.
But when I had my epiphany with regard to Christianity in the person of Christ, everything changed.
Your father disowned you?
My father abandoned me from the day I was born. The
Okay.
day I was born, my mother brought me out of the hospital to him, who he had a restaurant, and he rejected both of us. So that put her in a crisis for the first 4 years of my life until we came to the United States to make a new start.
Okay, man. Pastor Bernard is here with us, man. We're talking about the 4 things that God wants from a man. Well, there's 4 things that God wants from a man. It's maturity, decisiveness, consistency, and strength. And these are the same.
And 4 things women want from a man.
Are maturity.
Yeah, those 4 things
Are the same.
women want. And I will tell you, there are 4 things that men struggle with in life.
Yeah.
Maturity, decisiveness, consistency, and strength.
Well, the maturity part can apply to a whole lot of things, and especially infidelity, which I think leads to a lot of divorce. And we are often argue, is it natural? Is it human nature to want to be with multiple partners? I want to ask you that. Do you think monogamy is natural, or is it a forced trait?
It is the order that protects society. Human nature is rebellious. Human nature looks to deviate. And if we don't employ disciplines and boundaries, then we will have chaos. So to say that a woman, and I was in a meeting where one particular woman got up before the crowd. I was on a panel. It was all high-powered women in that meeting. And she said, how do we counsel our young black women to adjust themselves and accept the reality that young black males cannot be faithful to one individual? And I said, wait a minute, I take objection to that, because we cannot build a philosophy based upon someone else's failure. Because if we do, then we accept their failure. We must resist those failures and say, no, the ideal is attainable, the ideal is reachable, and then we work towards that. Because it's the worst thing in the world for a woman to go into a relationship having in the back of her mind the possibility that this man is going to be unfaithful to her, and she must now accept that. Because of this unprecedented wealth and education and this female power class that has emerged, women are no longer accepting male dominance, deception, and control. Women are rejecting the notion that they have to stay with a man who is going to be emotionally detached, who is going to be unfaithful to her.
Yeah.
They don't have to do it.
You got, 7 kids now?
I got 7 sons and 21 grandchildren.
7 sons. Wow. Couldn't make a girl, huh?
That's why I have 7 sons. Exactly. That's what I was trying to do, make a girl.
Pastor A.R. Bernard is here. We're going to open up the phone lines, 888-742-3345. Come back with some more questions. Sway in the morning. Sway in the morning, Shay 4-5. Wow. Feeling good about this conversation. 4 things women want from a man by Pastor A.R. Bernard. And, man, you pulling back the curtain, man. We're all learning right now. Thank you. I needed this. In the book you talk about how long people live with each other for 10 years without considering actually tying the knot, right? Why is that now, you think?
Well, again, pop culture, the influence of the changes that have taken place in the last 30 years in our society, and it's happening so fast that it's creating what you spoke of in the beginning of the broadcast, what Alvin Toffler calls rootlessness, urbanization, disorientation, and a search for stability and meaning. And I will tell you, the whole nation is right now in an identity crisis. Identity has to do with self-concept, a sense of meaning, and a sense of purpose. Identity has to do with finding approval and acceptance and a sense of belonging. And when you have such a radical shift in values and traditions within a society that held that society together people go into a crisis of trying to discover, well, who am I, especially in relationship to what's happening around me. And we've got all of these messages coming at us in this digital age, social media, movies, television, everything else, that people are wondering, who am I? And when you can't discover your true self, you will actually create yourself. You will invent someone that you think you would like to be without really knowing who you really are.
Well, hold up. Let that breathe. Let that breathe for a second. You will invent someone that you would like to be without really knowing who you are. Wow. I'm taking full advantage of you being here, by the way.
Absolutely.
This interview might go extra long here. Tracy, did you want to?
Yeah, I have so many things. I'm trying to pinpoint where I want to begin. You spoke about
pinpoint one, Tracy.
Yeah, okay, fine. Sheesh. All right, Heather. All right. Anyways, okay, so I'm curious because when you initially spoke about having problems with your wife and how there was kind of a year where your relationship was muted because it was uncomfortable to bring these things to surface, but you're still going to the church and speaking the good word. How transparent were you with, your fellowship with your church family of what was going on? And did you ever feel guilt if inside the house things are awry, but, front and center, things look awesome?
Absolutely. One of the paradoxes of being a minister is that regardless of what you're going through in your personal life, you still have a responsibility to communicate truth and a standard to the people. All right? Now, if you're not wrestling through that, and you're simply allowing your life to be a dichotomy where you're preaching one thing and living something else, that's problematic. That's a house of cards. It's going to collapse. But if you are genuinely and sincerely and authentically trying to work through who you are and who you should be, all right, then I believe that God blesses that, and he blessed us. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been married for 44 years, and my ministry wouldn't have continued to grow. So God is always working on the individual as a leader, and for me, it's continuous growth. And secret to my congregation is not how do I do what I do with people. No, I work harder on myself. So, whatever you want people to become, you must become it first. So you model it and you inspire them to become that, because I can't change anyone but me.
Right.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Pastor A.R. Bernard is here. 4 Things Women Want from a Man. It's available now. How many platforms? Is it everywhere? I'm sure, right?
It's all over the place.
All over the place?
We're trying to get as many places as possible.
Okay. Kosh is on the line from Ohio. Good morning, Kosh.
Hey, what up, Sway? What up, Heather B, Tracy B? It's actually Coach, and I'm a diehard listener, man. I love y'all to death. Y'all the salt of the earth. I want to first say to Pastor Bernard, man, God bless you, man. Like, you speaking to my soul right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm in here, like, getting chills, but my heart feels, like, renewed because, like, me and my lady of 8 years, she's my baby's mother. We in the past year, we came to terms with the fact that we had been cheating on each other. We hadn't been 100%, you know what I'm saying, faithful. And it hurt me so bad that it's true what they say, like, men don't take it as well as women do, like, and it crushed me, like, it tore me to pieces, but it helped me see the light, and so we're trying to rebuild and we're trying to move on, and I'm trying not to bring up the past, but, like, do you believe that after that kind of pain, after a couple that's hurt one another like that, is there hope for us to ever truly get past and, possibly spend the rest of our lives together? Absolutely.
Change is the only constant in life, and usually the best change comes through way of some crisis in life. Jesus said there's only one reason for divorce, and it's not infidelity. It's hardness of heart. It's when someone becomes so hardened by the circumstance and situation that they don't want change. They don't want to hear anything. They only want out. But when two people are willing to work together, I will tell you, that can create a whole new foundation that creates a better relationship than they had before the crisis. I highly recommend you get the book, of course, because it'll help walk you through this thing, because reconciliation is immediate, but restoration is a process.
Come on, yo.
Coach. And then the other thing that's great about this book, after reading so much, you'll be asked for your thoughts, too, to write them down. Why did you incorporate that in the book? I thought that was so cool.
I think it's important that people reflect, because we can fly through something and really miss it. The reality is the first read is an introduction. The second read is digestion. The third read is understanding.
Yeah. Okay. Pastor Bernard is here. Thank you, Coach. You're a citizen, man, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much. I love y'all.
All right, love you too. We got Lynn from California on the line. Good morning, Lynn.
Hey, Lynn.
Lynn, you got to turn your radio down. Lynn.
About to miss it.
Lynn.
Catch this blessing, Lynn.
Lynn, trying to anoint you.
Oh, you're supposed to forgive. You have the pastor here.
Lynn.
Practice forgiveness.
Lynn. Lynn. Yeah, Lynn. You almost didn't make it, Lynn.
Come on, Lynn.
I prayed for you.
Lynn. Oh, okay, Lynn. Okay, I'm a.
That's your PCS.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, we're gonna go to Demetrius in Alabama. Good morning, Demetrius.
Hey,
Good morning, Sway. Heather B. Tracy.
Hey.
How y'all doing this
Hey,
morning?
babes.
Pastor Bernard, I've really taken a listen to what you had to say this morning. And my question is a similar reflection to the life you spoke upon. I'm 43 years old, a father of 2 sons with the same woman. I married her when she was 20 and I was 30. And we married for 9 years, and then a couple of years ago we got a divorce for, like you said, a hardness of hearts. And my reflection to your story is that I come from a single-parent home where my father abandoned me and my mother from the time of my conception, well after the birth. I tried to reach out more or less to get the acceptance of a father, more or less of the man. And now that I have my sons of my own, my strict level with them is I don't ever want them to live the life that I had to live of not knowing who I am, what I am, and where I'm supposed to leave them. So what more in a spiritual educational side do I lead my kids for the strength of morals to make sure they don't try to lead or live the path that I've had to struggle with?
Yeah, well, again, get the book. It's really, really important. And, you have to have a positive evaluation of your past in order to invest it in your future. If it's only negative, then it's simply detrimental and undermining to your future. So take a look at what you've gone through, have a positive evaluation of it, and turn it into a life lessons that you could share with your sons. Say, look, life is about learning what to do and what not to do. So let me show you both sides of the coin, and then invest in them, because I will tell you, it's not the amount of time, it's the quality of time that you spend. Give them memories, not things, because when they get together on holidays, they don't talk about things. They talk about the memories that impacted them emotionally and psychologically in their growth experience. Mm-hmm. And remember, it's never too late to change. Never too late to change.
Hey, Demetrius, you got that?
Yes, sir, I did. I appreciate y'all, Sway. And y'all do a remarkable job in the morning. I drive trucks, so you all are my inner spirit lifting in music. I love music, so I tend to stay with that. It has its own touching with me as well.
Thank you.
I appreciate Pastor Bernard this morning, because I'm still fighting at 43 years old.
Yeah.
How to let go and forgive that coward that was not my father.
All right.
Yeah, but forgiveness is not an emotion. It's a decision. It's centered in the will. It's a gift that you give for the value of the relationship or your desire to move on, because you cannot move on until you let go. You've got to forgive. So forgiveness is not just for the person who trespassed against you. Forgiveness is for you. It gives you a new start, a new beginning. Jesus said something so powerful. He said, whatever you're yoked to in life, you carry the burden of. So if you're yoked to someone's sin against you, you carry the burden of that thing for the rest of your life, and they can go on free and clear.
Demetrius, you're a citizen.
Sway in the morning.
All this game in one day.
Come
Man,
on,
hold on. Let me
collect
take
it.
one more call. Hold
Collect
on,
it.
Jeez, hold on. My thing is broken. Hold on. Can you bless my cursor here, Pastor? So I can... All right, we got
Yeah, bless the room.
B Wood from Washington. Good morning. How you doing?
Hey, B Wood, what's poppin'?
Hello.
Hey, how y'all doing, man? How's
Doing
everybody?
good.
Everybody's well, man. What you like to say?
I'm humble, man. I'm humble right now. Pastor Bernard, man, like I listen to you every morning, 2:30 and 5:30, every morning.
Thank you.
Like you and a number of pastors help, like y'all really helped me out. First thing, man, I can't imagine what it's like to like be you, like just to know what you speak about. That's like got to be a burden. I got nervous as a youngster. People used to tell me like they would touch me and say I'm a preach. and I didn't really want to hear. I came up Mormon, like, but when I got converted, that's what they were saying. And I kind of just ran away from it. You know, I got all in the streets, but I met my wife as my girlfriend. She was my prom date, and we got married really, really young. And I didn't know what it was to be married. My mom and dad was married, but they split up by the time I was like 6 or 7 or something like that. So I didn't really know nothing about past step 2. You know, you move out of your mom's house and y'all are all on your own. So I was like really struggling, and I went through a real stint. But a few years ago, I heard your words, and I started listening to you, and I started applying to my life what you were saying, and it made so much sense to me. And I was just like, why is no one else listening to this? Why am I not hearing this from anybody else? And I was listening to other pastors at the time, but it's just like, man, your words kind of came to me and they comforted me, man. And I just like to say thank you. I'm a dad. I got 3 little girls. One of them just turned 5. My little baby just turned 5, and I'm there for them every day. I run New York every day from Maryland, man. I run every day from New York to Maryland, and I'm still there to see them every day, listening and applying what you're telling me to do in my life. And I like to say thank you and God bless you. And I like to tell everybody that, man, what this man says, he speaks the truth. He speaks the truth, and I'm just honored. I was praying that I was the one that was going to get there. I was like, Sway, pick me, Sway, pick me, Sway, pick me.
But you know what, B Wood, I saw a little comment on what you wanted to say to him, so I saved you for last. So I wanted you to kind of sum it all up for us, and I think you've done an excellent job, man.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, man. And B Wood, you're a citizen, man.
Sway in the morning.
Thank you for your calls, and listen, this discussion can continue. Just buy the book, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And you know, it's important what he said. He's listening. We only think to the level of what we're exposed to.
Yeah.
So if we want more knowledge and understanding, we must expose ourselves to quality knowledge and understanding. That comes from books. That comes from individuals who have a platform that are communicating truth, and that's so important. This society of ours, especially when it comes to relationships, is collapsing. All right, because we suffer from an inability to love and be loved, and we don't even know what love is, yet we're looking for it by nature. Love is the desire to benefit the one loved at the expense of self, because true love is sacrificial, redemptive, and unconditional. Lust is the desire to benefit self at the expense of other people. And you've got to know the difference when someone lusts you as opposed to when someone loves you. Because if you don't, you will confuse the two, and your expectations won't be managed properly, and you'll be filled with disappointment. Because disappointment is never based upon what you find. It's always based upon what you expected to find.
Wow. Pastor A.R. Bernard, ladies and gentlemen, 4 things women want from a man. Can you come back sometime? I mean, we're right here.
I'm here.
Please,
Okay,
exactly.
man.
We're neighbors.
Man, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming by the show. Thank you.
Thank
you for your words. Normally we would do Celebrity Wire around this time, but I think we're going to pass on that.
Yeah.
Okay? Right?
I was going to feel really embarrassed. I was going to ask for, Pastor Bernard to forgive me in advance.
No, we're going to pass on Celebrity Wire. And then we'll take your comments on today's show, 888-742-3345.